Welcome to Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation possible. You will get to hear from CSIA system integrators and industry partners to get a better understanding of how they help their clients solve process challenges and how they've earned success in their careers. Along the way, we will touch on system integration best practices, technology, trends, and challenges. Whether you are a manufacturer, end user, supplier, or system integrator, you will enjoy the insights these industry professionals bring to this podcast. Let's get started. Today I've got something a bit different for you. But first, a bit of backstory. You may or may not know that my boss, Jose Rivera, who is the CEO of CSIA, is stepping down from his role. At this point, I don't know who will be replacing him, but he's not gone yet. And in these final months of his reign, I wanted to take some time to reflect on his 10 years of service to CSIA and his accomplishments. Turns out, I'm not the only one. He is also being asked to tell his story in several places, including on the show Great Question, a manufacturing podcast produced by Plant Services and Endeavor Business Media's manufacturing group. Which brings me back to what I said at the beginning. Today's episode is a crossover where you will hear Thomas Wilk, the chief editor of Plant Services, interview Jose. The conversation explores how the association navigated challenges like the pandemic, expanded internationally, developed training initiatives, and adapted to industry changes, including consolidation and technology advancement. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to check out more from Great Question, a manufacturing podcast. Now, here's Tom and Jose discussing the evolution of the Control System Integrators Association and the future of industrial automation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Great Question, a manufacturing podcast brought to you by Plant Services and the Endeavor Business Media's manufacturing group. I'm Tom Wilk, the chief editor of Plant Services, and today is a pretty special conversation for me. Today, we're going to talk with Jose Rivera, who is the CEO of the Control System Integrator Association, or CSIA. In December, Jose announced that he would be stepping down after a decade of dedicated leadership and strategic vision. Under Jose's guidance, the CSIA has seen significant modernization, increased resilience, and a strong financial position. We spoke with Jose when he joined the CSIA 10 years ago, and it's my privilege to talk with him one more time on behalf of Plant Services. Jose, welcome to the podcast.
Very much, Tom, for having me on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
Well, 10 years ago, we got to meet together in the Plant Services Putnam Media offices in Schaumburg, and I can't believe 10 years went by that quickly.
I agree. 10 years, it's a really long time, but today it feels like it went by faster than it should have.
Well, as you look back and close out your decade with the CSIA, what are some of the moments that you look back on with satisfaction or pride?
Like I was thinking that, if you look back 10 years it's a decade, and it's a significant amount of time to allow for changes in our industry. And that would have happened in any case, for our industry, for our members, for our association. But if you add on top of it the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, I mean, that was then a dramatic transformation period. And so when I look back, I'm very proud of how we took a proactive approach to all of this. First, to help our members make it and thrive through the pandemic. And also for us, as an association, a not-for-profit association, when it comes to the important things, not always on top of mind when you're trying to survive your company, but we were able to get that done, and we were able to introduce some important changes. So we took advantage of the opportunity and made it happen. And so I have a few examples. So every association is challenged to stay relevant through generational transitions, right? So you have, in the case of CSIA, we were founded in 1994. And many of the founding fathers, and I said fathers because all of them were men, and they have either retired or are on their process to retire. And so in 2016, we started to develop an initiative called Emerging Leaders. At that time, we had a different name, but now it's called Emerging Leaders, to help us, nurture and expand the role of the incoming leaders of the system integration companies, such that they could also have incoming role within CSIA and to ensure that our association would stay relevant through this important change. And so we have been increasing the role that they play at our conference. They get to organize one of our tracks. Several of them have now joined the board. When you take a look and remember how I was saying founding fathers, today the chair is a female. We have had two past chairs that were from outside of the US. And when you take a look at the membership, the participation of women at our conference has increased significantly. You have younger generations participating. All of that is good for any association because you don't want to become your father's Oldsmobile, right? So that basically finishes when you're done. I mean, our association has made a very big effort to stay relevant, and so the other thing that I wanted to say is that a big part of the value that CSA provides is the best practices manual. So this is where we put our knowledge for helping system integrators build better companies, which is really the company. And then in addition to the best practices, we have the certification. So those who want to can request it, they get audited, and if they pass, they're certified. So remember when we had the pandemic, we couldn't travel, right? So we could not conduct these audits in person. And that was before the pandemic, the only way to conduct the audits. So I felt that we needed to do something. I had witnessed some of our audits, and I knew and I saw that system integrators were already leveraging virtual technology, right? So if they were checking in on a project that included resources from outside that office, they would dial them in, and then that was part of the audit. And so we worked together. This is the certification committee, the board, and I, to create a protocol for doing remote audits. And that remains an option for system integrators. They can go the in-person version, but the remote audit is an option. And so we have that, and we're going to keep that. I think it allows for especially international members to do their audit and keep the cost in wraps. And the other thing that I'm very proud of is our role when it comes to training. We're calling it more like professional development. So we will talk about it later, but we are about to launch, and it will happen at the conference, the launch of the Learning Hub. So it's an offer of digital online training that we have prepared with the specific workforce of the system integrators in mind. So it's very relevant to what they have. So 10 years, a long time.
It's a long time, and you listed some serious accomplishments just now. And isn't it interesting how a change in generational leadership dovetails so well with these improved certification opportunities? That's something I'm noticing on the maintenance side at conferences. The next generation, the millennials and the Gen Zs who are moving up the ranks, they're curious about how to get further professionalized and certified. And it sounds like the CSIA is parallel with that effort.
Yes. You know, like this, and again, 10 years, right? So when I started, we would have two of our board meetings were done in person and the other ones were remote. But remote at that time meant dialing in teleconference, just phone, and everybody was then following not even a PowerPoint, it was a Word document outlining, the topics to discuss. Um, I mean, we did not have to wait for the pandemic. We moved on to have, shared screens and then video and the whole thing. And so now it's a given. It's a given. But
Yeah.
10 years ago when I started, it was not a given for CSIA. It was not. So I think it's now something that others will be able to leverage. I love to meet in person, but I also see all the benefits of being able to do this remotely. I mean, it's so efficient, and now we're comfortable with it.
Completely agree. I remember when remote access to computers was pretty much the domain of people with a crash card going in to solve media problems on the IT side, and now we all have this capability.
Danny, tell the good people who you are and why you're here.
Sure. I'm the Director of Digital Learning at CSIA, and I'm here to tell you about the new CSIA Learning Hub, a professional development platform specifically designed for system integrators by system integrators.
Sounds amazing. I hear all the time how challenging it is to find content for system integrators so they can get their people up to speed quickly.
And the content is exceptional, I will say. We've worked with system integrators to create over 20 curated playlists covering essential skills at every level. We have content for team members who need the basics, as well as content for those advancing their expertise. Our skill levels range from building awareness all the way to practicing, entry level to seasoned professional.
Tell me more.
Well, it's an online platform, which means it's super flex. Teams can access training and learn at their own pace, which should be a given in today's digital environment. But what is unique is that each organization gets a customized training site. So learning managers can track progress, generate reports, and really see how their team is developing. So you'll use what CSIA built as a foundation, but from there, you can really customize the experience for your team.
So let's go back to the part where you said it was built for SIs by SIs. How was the content sourced and vetted?
That is a great question. So our playlist curation was led by Eric Schaefer, a true subject matter expert with over 20 years of experience in the system integration space. His expertise guided the selection, organization, and skill level alignment for each playlist. Think of it like Spotify. All the content is there, but imagine having a personal DJ who spent over 20 years getting to know your preferences and tailoring the perfect playlist just for you.
That sounds super useful for onboarding and developing employees. What's the catch? Is it super expensive?
Not at all. Introductory pricing is just $900 for 2025. With that, you get 4 active learner accounts and a learning manager license.
That's a really great value. There still must be some sort of catch.
No, there really isn't. Well, except that you do have to be a member of CSIA to be able to participate.
Where can people go to find out more?
They can visit www.controlsys.org/learning-hub.
Well, let's move to the training topic you mentioned earlier. And I'll take us back to 2015, the first time we spoke. You said that 2 of your goals at that time were number 1, to grow the CSIA by expanding abroad, especially to Mexico, and B, to augment the CSIA's training offerings across the board. So I guess my question is, have those goals been achieved to your satisfaction?
Yes, and so let me start with the international expansion. So when I joined, we already had a chapter in Latin America,
Mhm.
and we had a regional director there, and we were working to develop it. So now, 10 years later, we have doubled, and so we have around 50 companies in Latin America. Half of them are in Mexico. Then the rest is distributed between Colombia, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, Brazil. I mean, it's that's what we have. What I think has been the biggest success is that CSA, as an organization or as an association, was started with a group of system integrators that get together to help each other out. So from the very beginning, they were collaborative. And so there was like no need to convince them of that. But when we moved this to Latin America, there was a lot of trust that needed to be built
Mhm.
because this whole thing about like being able to talk to your quote unquote competitors, it's not the most natural thing. But by having regular events, and I was putting a lot of effort at the very beginning of my time with CSIA in having in-person events sponsored by our partners, etc. So we were able to develop a culture of collaboration. So unlike when we started the association in the States, where that was a given, over there we had to build it. Today we have it, and it's a great group of system integrators that participate regularly. We have on Tuesdays the system integration Tuesdays, for Latin America. The frequency was weekly during the pandemic. Now we have it like I think every 2 weeks or once a month, something like that. But it's one where the local system integrators are sharing and participating. So that is a big success. So my ambition was bigger. My ambition was also to go into Europe. So we do have a few system integrators there. We started an effort. Initially, it was going to be Germany. And then we had the pandemic, and that slowed the whole thing down. And so that one, I don't view as a success. The pandemic, of course, was one thing that took us down. I think we need to revisit. This will be now the role for for the replacement for the new CEO of CSIA. But I think it's important for CSIA to continue to broaden its geographical footprint beyond the US.
Okay.
So the other part that you asked me about the training offer.
Hmm.
So yes, it is something that we have been working in different formats. So CSIA has always had, just before the start of the conference, a 2-day best practices workshop. So initially it was for those companies that wanted to get certified. This would allow them the opportunity to participate in this training and discuss with the companies that were going to audit them, um, all the different things. So that was great. And we continue to have that. And it still remains a very popular 2-day workshop. We have added 2 other workshops, marketing in the I think this year will be the 3rd year, a total success, and what it has done, it has brought a new audience within the system integrator companies to the conference. So these are the people that do the marketing that in the past were not, very present at our conference.
Hmm.
And then in the last year, for 2 years, we had one that was called Value Workshop, and it was related to valuation of your company for M&A. Our industry has gone through a lot of consolidation. So it was done by a banker and like accounting finance company, was
Hmm.
very valuable for those owners that were looking into selling or buying. And this year we're going to have one about business risk. You know that every company, also like the system integration companies, they run into risks, and there are strategies to mitigate those risks or cover for those risks. And oftentimes it involves insurance. Other times it requires legal. Um, and so we are going to have 2 of those companies that are part of CSA provide this workshop. I think it's like very interesting. A lot of us think that insurance is a very boring topic, and it probably is, but it's still a very important topic for a
Oh,
company to really protect their businesses.
completely agree. It's every now and then I'll try and write a new article on the fact that the maintenance team's best friend actually can be the finance and insurance team, because the more maintenance can demonstrate that they are reducing the risk and exposure faced by the company through healthier assets, the lower your premium is going to be, and the more you can argue that your team's function is contributing more to the bottom line.
Yes,
It's a relationship which needs to be encouraged, I think.
yes. No, absolutely. And then to continue with this training, I mean, what we were doing outside of the conference, again, trying to extend the value we were delivering throughout the year. We tried multiple things, successful, but it also part of the learning. So we did some project management, remote training with an instructor,
Hmm.
and then we also did it ones that were about a quote preparation of quotes, and this was like a self-taught. And then we are now, and this is what I was saying before, like getting ready to launch our what we call the Learning Hub. And so
Hmm.
Learning Hub, I think it's like a very interesting concept. So we have some CSIA commissioned content, but we also have, and I think this is the most valuable part, created playlists. Everybody now understands playlists, right? And then you
Hmm.
have playlists or recommended courses for people within the system integration company with different positions, and our goal is to have them for different levels. So if you are a new engineer entering a system integration company fresh out of college, then you will be introduced into topics that most likely you didn't get to address while in college. Things like finance, things like um, risk management, or how to work with teams, or how to manage a team of engineers, things
Hmm.
like that, emotional intelligence, all these different things. So we have created like this recommended list by position, to go and take those courses when they have time to do so, check the list, and move on. So that one we will be launching at the conference. I'm very excited about that.
That's terrific, and I'll be sure to put as much information as I can about the Learning Hub into the transcript of our of from this podcast too. Make sure people have the links to get there. Um,
Thank you.
your comments about the next generation sort of lead me to our next topic, which is the newer and younger workers moving into integration. What's your sense of how appealing or how popular work is with these folks? And do you see them as being drawn to like the manufacturing side of integration or the healthcare side or the finance, or is it a little bit of everything?
I mean, even if I reflect back to my experience, I'm an engineer, and so when I went to engineering school, and after that, I started now looking for a job, and big brands was what attracted me. So I started my career with Siemens, which huge brand,
Hmm.
and what I will say is that that provides an advantage for those companies because those brands are recognized. That is not the case for system integrators, to be totally honest. But and it's not fair to expect that they would have the same brand.
Hmm.
But system integrators offer very interesting career paths because or careers that develop their experience. So if you are a system integrator engineer, you will very likely be involved in projects across multiple clients, multiple industries, and probably multiple applications. And so that is like a richness of experience, especially right out of college. Where would you get that in that in a short period of time? Right, the project here, next project there, etc., and you get that. So to me, that's very appealing. So what this does, it forces system integrators to tell their story and come to campus and participate in those recruiting weeks, and participate in co-ops for those universities that offer them. And so this way, they can overcome their lack of recognizable brands within their students. And so then they can make their careers like very appealing. So I think that that is like a very, very big and attractive feature. And what I will also say is that today's system integration work, it's technology work. I mean, the role of IT in all of these platforms, I mean, it's something that a lot of engineering students strive to be part of,
Hmm.
and that is very possible through regular system integration work.
Okay.
While the solutions to every challenge facing your business are not always clear, one thing is certain. To be successful, you must be continuously elevating your game. And there is no better way to do that than by digging into real-world issues in real life with the real experts, your peers. That's why I'm so excited to be able to invite you to attend the 2025 CSIA conference June 2nd through June 6th, where hundreds of system integrators will get together in San Diego to learn and grow. I've been working with associations for my whole career, and I can honestly say I have never experienced a group of business professionals so willing to share, collaborate, and support one another. Look, this isn't about boosting attendance, it's about making sure CSIA members can fully experience the most valuable benefit the association has to offer, the CSIA conference. Ready to learn more? Visit www.controlsys.org/2025 conference. See you in June on the West Coast.
That reminds me of last year's conversation with a couple of integrators from the CSIA member group organization, where we were talking about the application of integration work to the maintenance function. And they made a couple observations which made me realize that maintenance over the past 10 years probably would not be where it is without the work of integrators to enable increased automation in the plant, but also to improve the collection and movement and analysis of machine health data. Um, you know, it's funny to see that the percentage of work that's reactive has sort of stayed the same over the past 10 years, even as we're working with fewer people. So it's these integrator efforts to help the maintenance teams out, to help increase automation, which has helped them cover up that skills gap. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the ability of the integrators to, again, facilitate operations and maintenance in this way, through increased automation and improved access to machine health data.
First thing that I will say is that, we started the conversation with maintenance, and then you started mentioning machine health.
Hmm.
I think that this whole segment has had a transformation.
Huh.
And I think the term asset management, I think it does do much more justice than maintenance, which has this connotation of like something broke, bring the repair guy, and today the approach is number one, recognizing the capital that is invested in all this equipment that goes in a manufacturing plant, the criticality of these assets, because if they're down, you're not producing. And then the recognition that, yes, there are proactive approaches to 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 this type of maintenance or management, asset management, that allows you to be more proactive, right? And so that requires the deployment of technology, that requires the ability to analyze and take action from data analysis. So maybe a parallel example is the airline industry, right? Where
Hmm.
you have like the planes representing, multi-million dollar assets, and they fly and they get regular um, reviews and checks and the whole thing to keep the planes in the air as much as they can. And so they are leveraging big time all these approaches, and it's like very well recognized. So some of these companies that sell you the turbine will sell you flying hours as opposed to, the physical assets, which is also a change in the mindset of those selling it and those buying it. And so all of this that I have said, it just makes this much more attractive for young engineers. Who wants to be the grease monkey? Who wants to be the one called in the middle of the night to repair something? Nobody. But
Hmm.
if you're brought in from the perspective of you can keep this plant running without unscheduled shutdowns, I mean, you are now the hero because you're deploying technology. So I really think that this is like reinventing this whole segment.
That's an excellent point, and I kind of look forward to the day when maintenance teams are renamed the asset management teams, again, to reflect the change in mindset towards
Yes.
machine health. Yeah.
Yes. And back to the role of system integrators. I mean, you're now deploying technology, to be able to monitor vibration, monitor temperature, monitor, you know, air leaks, or all this equipment that exists now that in the past was very, very expensive, right? And certain technology has made it easier to install. Wireless, which is no longer a new thing, but wireless, before wireless, you had to pull lines, pull cables, and conduit, all these complications that came
Mhm.
with it, they're gone. So this is now a new world, and so the maintenance or like the asset management technology that existed only for the big turbine, now it's deployable to the smaller motors, um, like r- all the other equipment in the plant. And
Mhm.
now you can make it accessible and you can have like an overall strategy for the asset management.
Well, we'll get you out of here on this last question then, Jose. Do you know what your next steps may be, and especially what the next steps may be for CSIA?
So that would be looking at when it comes to my next steps into the crystal ball, because I don't have any specific plan yet. I mean, there's still a lot to do before the conference and then
Mhm.
with the onboarding of the new CEO. But I hope to be able to stay within this industrial automation industry. I have a big network. I have quite a lot of experience, and it's also an industry that I enjoy being part of. So we'll see where I land. And now, when it comes to CSIA, I hope that CSIA stays with an open and proactive mindset, because the industry of system integration has changed so much, and it will continue to change. It has increased in terms of significance for the delivery of solutions for a lot of manufacturers, and that will not change. What the scope of solution of system integrators will continue to grow and expand, but the part that stays common across all these different system integrators is how they run their companies. And CSIA was started because they were all techies, very comfortable with technology, but when it came to running their businesses, they were challenged. And I think that remains the case. But now that we're having larger companies, and that is normal with the process of consolidation, with companies being very successful and growing very fast, you now have different management related challenges, right? And so we need to stay abreast of that. CSIA, by the way, I did not mention that as one of the accomplishments, but the system integration industry has gone through a lot of consolidation. And so that has brought challenges to our certifications program. So in the past, it used to be like you would certify the company, maybe it had some branch offices. All of that concept of branch office, head office, that has gone by the window. Companies organize differently. Some companies have acquired like significantly. And so how will you integrate? And now if you want to have a certification for the whole group, how do we go about it? So we had to spend quite a bit of time thinking about that and creating some guidelines, and we have delivered that. And we're now able to respond to those system integrators that have been the acquirers or have been acquired, and in all this new environment. So change is the only constant. And so CSIA also need to change and adapt to newer times.
Well, and sadly, it's time for a change for you. I'll miss our talks, Jose. I think we've talked 5 times in the past 10 years. So thank you for always being open to speaking with us about changes in industry and upcoming trends. I really appreciate your support and guidance.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been a pleasure. And I hope to be able to stay in touch with you.
I'm sure we'll see each other at one or more upcoming events. And for those who are listening who are interested in the CSIA conference, it's the first week of June in San Diego, and I'll put links to that in the show notes too. So once again, Jose, thank you for everything.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also really help the show by leaving a review and sharing with colleagues. We're all just slaves to the logarithm now, so I gotta ask. Thanks for listening to the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. Thanks also to bensound.com and Wistia for the music bumpers. Until next time.